Sweat was dripping down the man's forehead. He turned his face towards his family, his wife and 2 teenage daughters, and all he asked them was to hope for the best. Doug White and his family were enjoying a pleasant ascent through the clouds after a smooth takeoff. It wasn't a commercial flight, more of a private one. White owns the King Air and leases it through his company, White Equipment Leasing LLC, based in Archibald, Louisiana. They were in the comfort of their own plane. What could go wrong? Suddenly, the pilot of their twin-engine aircraft, Joe Kebuk, leaned back and emitted a deep noise. The retired jet pilot then lost consciousness, and soon after, he passed away. Although Doug held a pilot's license, he had no experience flying a plane of this size. With his hands cold and shivering from fear, he realized he was not going to give up. He and his family would carry on living. He knew he had the expertise he needed to save them all. But there were several problems. First, all his experience was in a single-engine Cessna 172. Unfortunately, Doug lacked experience with the larger, faster King Air. Second, the last time he flew was 18 years ago. And number 3, there was no autopilot. I mean, sure, there was one, but White mentioned that he attempted to reactivate the autopilot, but it directed the aircraft northward, following the route that Kebuk had set for the flight to Jackson, Mississippi. It was high time to start acting. White asked his wife to help him get the pilot out of his seat, worried that he might collapse and accidentally press some of the control buttons. Alas, the cramped space made it impossible for them to pull the man out, so they secured him back into the seat with the straps. Although White understood that they were meant to halt their ascent at 10,000 feet, he observed them climbing well beyond that altitude. But in the Cessna, he had never reached an altitude higher than 7,000 feet. Now, it all depended on the precise and timely instructions from the air traffic controllers he managed to connect with. Luckily, he knew exactly how to use the radio.
I need a King Air pilot to talk to.
One of the air traffic controllers contacted a friend in Connecticut who was certified to operate the King Air. The pilot consulted flight checklists, manuals, and cockpit diagrams to offer guidance to the controller, who then communicated the necessary steps to White, who was thousands of feet above the ground. Due to the faulty autopilot setting, Doug had to fly the plane manually. He managed the descent and ultimately landed safely in Fort Myers shortly after 2 p.m. Doug's story proves that if you really want to do something, you will nail it. You can land a plane even if you have no idea how to do that, or even if you're blind. No jokes here. History knows someone who did land a plane being blind. Jim O'Neill was piloting a Cessna, the type of plane Doug knew how to fly, by the way, from Scotland to southeastern England. The flight had been proceeding smoothly, with the aircraft functioning perfectly, until, without warning, everything took a dire turn about 40 minutes into his solo flight. O'Neill wasn't particularly young. He was 65, and, as it happens to some of us when we get old, he experienced a stroke. It's a terrible experience even if you're somewhere in the city with hospitals nearby. But Jim had it while piloting at an altitude of 5,500 feet. Strokes hardly ever come unnoticed, and consequences can be dreadful. Jim got completely blind because of that stroke. Initially, he thought the blinding sunlight had obscured his vision, but when it didn't clear, he realized he was in serious danger, alone at the controls of the plane. He couldn't even see the dials. In a panic, O'Neill managed to locate the radio and communicated his emergency to ground control. His distress call was received by RAF Wing Commander Paul Gerard, who had just completed a training flight in the vicinity. Gerard took to the skies to assist O'Neill, guiding him as he flew alongside the incapacitated pilot. Gerard led O'Neill to the nearest airstrip, which introduced another challenge: how to ensure a safe landing. On his first attempt, O'Neill touched down but then bounced back into the air. The second attempt had the same outcome. However, on his third try, guided by Gerard's instructions, he executed a nearly flawless landing. Landing an aircraft completely blind requires someone right there to guide you. Left a bit, right a bit, stop, down. During the critical final approach, even with radar, visual confirmation is essential. That's why having another pilot was invaluable. After the landing, O'Neill was transported to the hospital, where his vision gradually started to return. Yeah, you never know what might happen to the pilot. That's exactly the reason why two pilots are mandatory at almost all times. It significantly enhances safety in the event of a technical failure, health concern, or let's say, if one of the pilots is pulled out of the plane. On June 10, 1990, passengers boarding British Airways Flight 5390 from Birmingham to Malaga had no idea of the horrifying experience that awaited them. In a dramatic incident, the pilot was partially ejected from the aircraft after a window blew out during the flight, leaving him clinging to the window frame for 20 nerve-wracking minutes. Sudden decompression can be life-threatening, but against all odds, Captain Timothy Lancaster survived the ordeal. British Airways Flight 5390 was a popular service for British holidaymakers traveling to Malaga. On that day, the BAC 111-500 aircraft took off with 81 passengers and 6 crew members on board. The aircraft had a long history, having been in service since 1971 and previously flown by various airlines before joining British Airways in 1988. Captain Timothy Lancaster, aged 42, the first officer Alistair Acheson, 39, were at the controls. With thousands of flight hours between them, they were well prepared for the routine flight. Shortly after takeoff, while the plane was climbing to 17,300 feet, the left windscreen detached with a loud bang, causing rapid decompression. Lancaster was thrust headfirst out of the plane, held only by his legs caught on the controls. As the aircraft started to descend quickly, cabin crew member Nigel Ogden rushed to assist, realizing the severity of the situation. Acheson managed the autopilot while maintaining communication, which was difficult due to the noise and chaos inside the cockpit. The crew had to physically hold on to Lancaster to prevent him from being pulled into the engines. Acheson expertly regained control and communicated with air traffic control to prepare for an emergency landing at Southampton Airport. After 35 minutes in the air, Flight 5390 landed safely. Despite sustaining severe injuries, including frostbite and fractures, both Lancaster and Ogden survived. Fortunately, no other injuries were reported. An investigation revealed that the windscreen bolts were incorrectly installed due to maintenance errors, causing the decompression. The maintenance manager responsible was criticized for failing to follow the procedures. Another crazy story about landing in the most incredible circumstances is this story about a woman from Spain. Sadly, it doesn't have an entirely happy ending. She and her husband, who was the designated pilot, were on a plane. The Ultralight aircraft took off from Trebujena and was to land at Coria del Rio, a small town near Seville. There were no signs of trouble when suddenly the man lost consciousness. His wife had no idea how to fly, yet, luckily, she managed to get in touch with air traffic controllers who guided her through the landing process for approximately 90 minutes before her emergency landing attempt on Sunday. It all ended up in an ultralight crash, and the woman survived it, though she got several burns and bruises. Her husband, unfortunately, tragically lost his life.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.